Welcome back to Franco Fridays and Fassbinder Fridays. I'm going to do a double dose of Friday action here. I'm going to look at a Fassbinder film for this video and then come back around for a Franco film. So let's talk about some Fassbinder movies. The first one I'm going to talk about for this video is Fox and His Friends from 1975. This is a release from Arrow Academy. This is part of a limited edition box set that looks like it's out of print now, but if you want to pick up these individual titles from the box set, you can still do that. I checked the Arrow website, and this is running for about 15 pounds. Fox and His Friends is probably the first film of Fassbinder's that deals with homosexuality in a way that it's basically not being made into a problem. Many of Fassbinder's films have lesbian and homosexual type subject matter in them, but this one just takes it on with the characters, all the lead characters, all basically that's their lifestyle preference, and nothing more is made of it. It's not frowned upon. There's not a judgmental view of it. It's just it is what it is, and the film really plays out as a drama with homosexual characters rather than straight characters. So from that standpoint, it's a little unusual. The film is very nihilistic or pessimistic, depending on how you want to look at it. Essentially, what you have here is a guy named Fox, who is played by Fassbinder. Fassbinder directed the film and was the lead character. He plays a sweet but unsophisticated, working class gay man who wins the lottery. He actually is working in a kind of a circus, a traveling circus show, but he ends up winning the lottery, and he falls in love with an elegant son of an industrialist who tries to mold him into these upper class values, all while at the same time preying on his lottery winnings, getting him to buy expensive cars and getting him to buy expensive apartments, funding his dad's business when it's getting into trouble. So basically just raping and pillaging him, quite literally, both mentally, economically, and physically. Ultimately, of course, we find out Fox is all his illusions of what real love is destroyed, and he's left heartbroken and destitute. It's a very, very somber, pessimistic film, and it's tough to watch, but it's really, really a powerful film. And it's funny about this film is that this film is probably much more acceptable by a mainstream audience than it is by, say, lesbian, gay, sexual oriented group, mainly because it's funny, they have a much more, at least historically, people that have that sexual preference, when they watch this film, have a much more visceral reaction to it, or just they've actually accused Fassbinder because of this film of being homophobic, which is kind of ironic because he was obviously a homosexual, bisexual man. I doubt that he was anything but homophobic, but he portrayed the problem was the way he portrayed this. He portrayed this relationship in a very in a way that just did not show people in that light favorably. But they were they're normal people. Basically, Fassbinder was taking the approach that, look, just because you're gay or lesbian or straight doesn't mean you have people that won't take advantage of others, steal, rob, and basically mentally destroy others, particularly the ones you get close to, the ones that supposedly are the ones you're supposed to love and respect and those type of things, those will be the first type of people that take full advantage of you. And that's what this film is talking about. I think it's a very, very good film. It's a film that I think, even though it plays, it definitely is not mainstream film. For most people, I think mainstream audiences, it's very, very easy to accept the premise and the storyline, because we all have been, I think, taken advantage of in our lives, and that's just normal way it is. I mean, this film is taken to an obvious and extreme, but that whole idea is a very important one and an interesting concept. Now, what makes this also interesting is that as pessimistic and nihilistic as this film is, it's kind of outweighed by Fassbinder's storyline, and he actually is kind of indicting Fox as an active participant in his own victimization. And it's a familiar critique. In other words, you feel sympathy for Fox because he's basically being robbed of all his winnings in the lottery, and he's obviously in love with a guy that doesn't give two shits about him. But the film doesn't play to that sympathy. It actually kind of portrays Fox as just, if you're that basic, it's kind of one of those things, if, quote unquote, if you're that stupid that you can't read these kind of tea leaves, then you deserve what's going to happen to you. That's kind of how the film, it's kind of a docudrama, straightforward presentation of it, but it does not overemphasize the sympathetic character of Fox. It actually kind of shows it as well. If you're that stupid, then maybe you deserve to get destitute and heartbroken. Great stuff, thought-provoking stuff. It's a film I've watched many, many times, and I can highly recommend it. Now, this release, of course, has Chinese roulette. It's pretty simple as far as the design of it. It's got Chinese roulette, which is another excellent film. And then I probably should, at some point, I'll show the entire box set, which has a 200-page booklet that went with it. This release has a 4K restoration of the films from the original camera negative. It's got a commentary track on Fox and Friends by Hamish Ford, an interview with Uli Lamel, who was in Chinese Roulette. Excellent stuff. Highly recommended by the master himself, Rainer Fassbinder. Let me know what you think of this film, or if you haven't seen it. Feel free to leave any comments. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.